Been a while.
Welcome to another episode of Sports and Songs Podcast. We're your hosts, Dan and Andy. Today is January 9th, 2022. We're in season 3, episode number 9. How are you?
Good. Bison won, horns up.
Horns up,
So,
Bison. Great game. They beat Montana State in the championship game in, what do you call it? Fargo South?
Fargo South, or Frisco, Texas, as others call it.
Frisco, Texas.
Fargo South.
Big turnout, and boy, those guys had that. They had the beer can snake going up there in the stands. Tons of tailgating before and after the game, I'm sure.
Montana State fans were good and respectful. There was good banter between both sides the whole game, so that was fun.
Fun stuff.
Very fun
stuff. So we'll cover that a little bit. We'll cover some pro football, NFL playoffs, college title game is tomorrow night for the Division I. North Dakota State won the FCS title over Montana State Saturday. And we're all done with bowl games tomorrow, and we're done with the bowl season. It's going to be NFL after this, and we're into the college basketball. Everything's on the conference game. Now we're done with the non-conference portion of the schedule. It's going to be good to go. Let's start off with the trivia question.
Yes, go ahead, sir. What do you got?
Trivia question is, Alabama plays Georgia tomorrow night in the title game. Both teams are 13-1. They come from the same conference. Alabama's won 13 national titles. Georgia only won 1980 with Herschel Walker in the backfield. 1980. Georgia, as good as they are, only one title ever. So it's going to be going Alabama looking for their 14th, Georgia looking for their second title. The question is, how many national titles does the Golden Gophers have?
Oh, I know there used to be a powerhouse back in the day. I'd have to think, though.
I've asked some people here at the studios. They thought the answer was 0, but it's not 0. It's more than that. And in fact, it's in the top 10 career in the nation. They're a top 10 team with most college football titles. So I picked that as a lot of the younger audience may not know this, but it's an interesting answer. We'll get to it later. All right, it's all you. What have you got? College or high school?
We're going to start college here. We're going to do it right.
Oh, yes.
We're going to start with the champs here. Bison won number 9 yesterday. 9th out of 11. Side note on that, it's their 9th FCS title, but counting Division II, overall total, they've won 17 national championships. So
more than the Alabama, but
yes,
that is
more. And
like we say, Andy, at any level of football, when you get to this level, it's no small feat to win one title at all.
And that's why I want to talk about levels. A lot of guys are saying, I was looking at Bison stuff beforehand. From 2015 to 2019, they did play some FBS games. They've beaten the Gophers, Iowa State, Kansas State, someone else. I'm going blank on it right now. They did have, before COVID hit, they were supposed to do a home and home with Oregon. That got scrapped. But next year, the Bison do play down at Arizona, the Wildcats. So they're back to playing the big boys. But everybody goes, well, why don't the Bison just join the big leagues? Here we go. Main difference between FBS and FCS. So the annual winner is determined. Of course, FBS has their 14 playoffs. FCS has a 24-man tournament. The finances are a lot of it too, as you see there. Division I athletic programs generate $8.7 billion between the 2009-2010 academic year. The bowl football subdivision, 130 schools in 2017. 50 to 60% of those football and men's basketball programs generate positive revenues. It's all about the dollars for all this. You hear these other little schools like Youngstown State is still good, but Troy State, when they went Division I, they were a big fish in a little pond, and now they're fighting to be 500. Not saying that's why the Bison want to stay down there because they can keep winning and dominating, But do you want to recruit and go to a team that might win the national championship for Division II or FCS? Or do you want to try to recruit for a team going, hey, we're going Division I, we're hoping for 3 wins this year? So recruiting's got to be tough when you make that change too. And also, this is the FBS. This is where all the big schools are located right now. Without being a geography major, we all got a good idea where Fargo is up there. Traveling and finances, where would you put them? What conference? There's already 14 teams in the Big Ten. There's no one else really around them. So financially for them, the travel would be hard and reinventing the wheel on that. You can maybe put them in at the Big 12 or maybe the Pac-12 Mountain West there, maybe. I don't know, where they play Wyoming and Colorado State. That's still a lot of travel.
It's a good visual. Good visual.
Yeah, this is all the big schools. These are all the big boys for football. Where the finances for that would be just tough. So, not making excuses. I'd love to see the Bison play more FCS or FBS teams every year. Maybe they can now. They're getting a little stroke. So we'll see. But let's be patient. Maybe they might get like 3 or 4 other teams to go. We'll see how that's all handling out.
Is James Madison moving up then also?
Yes, they'll be moving up next year or two, and they're down in the Florida area there, so there's plenty of room for them down there.
Okay.
So let's start some other stuff here. Brandon Motorsports was informed Tuesday night that the LBGcoin.io sponsorship is not approved to be used for Brandon Brown's number 86 Chevrolet in NASCAR's Xfinity Series. Brandon Brown's the guy who was getting interviewed after a race. The crowd was chanting their displeasure for the president. And the reporter says, oh, look, they're saying, let's go, Brandon. He was really kind of embarrassed by that. I think people had told him, run with it, man. That's how we know you now. So the decision became official when they returned after holiday break. However, NASCAR spokesman told Racer the submission from the team, which was sent on Christmas Day, was not done through the appropriate portal and was incorrectly approved without proper understanding of the LGB coin. Additionally, the sponsor's submission will also not clearly defined. NASCAR did not use a formal statement on the decision. So they're just using excuses to get away from it. I think it's, if I was NASCAR, I'd go with it, have fun with it. Give them a 1-year thing on it, or let them do it for a couple races, especially around like 4th of July, stuff like that. Have fun with it. But again, my feathers aren't ruffled by the name of it. I think it's kind of funny. Like them or not, it's kind of funny the way the announcer had to change it. So go with it. The Mets. Buck Showalter is going after Joey Cora to try to be a third base coach from the Pirates. Reports are coming out that Joey Cora is from the same hometown, some area down south, as Francisco Lindor of the Mets. And Lindor grew up idolizing Joey Cora. So, did Buck Showalter know this when he picked his coaching staffs or not? Buck Showalter's smarter than you think. He's going to pick these coaching staffs. He's trying to get Curtis Granderson in. He's trying to get a hitting coach from the Yankees over. So he's picking and choosing. Now, none of these are official because of the lockout right now. So there's a lot of these names you hear popping up from other teams going to coaches and this and that. They're all, yeah, sure, I'll do it. We'll sign when the lockout's over. I mean, they could talk. They just can't sign anything, from what I understand. So reported Joey Cora will be there with Buck Showalter. And I think Buck's only going to manage for a couple, 3 years. So it's going to be Cora's team to take over after that.
Yeah.
From our friends out in Seattle on King 5. Father faces assault charges for allegedly injuring a ref. Okay, first of all, it's on video and you see it happen. How the word allegedly comes in. That's always confused me. Kenmore, Washington. The father, okay, listen to some of this information and let it kind of go in. The father of a middle school student. Middle school, so that's like 6th, 7th, 8th grade, is facing second-degree assault after allegedly pushing a referee to the ground during a basketball game. Mark McLaughlin pleaded not guilty to the charges. The charges of you on videotape pushing a guy. Yeah, he said not guilty. The game happened December 16th when McLaughlin's 8th grade son intentionally fouls another player, causing a skirmish on the court, according to the charging documents. One referee went to break up the skirmish. McLaughlin's son is knocked to the ground, according to documents. That referee can be seen on video helping the boy up. Another referee was standing in the middle of the skirmish when McLaughlin went barreling down onto the court and rammed into, quote, unquote, rammed into him. According to charging documents, the referee hit the floor face first, breaking his nose and cheekbone. The police reports noted several, quote unquote, parents had both schools called 911.
Sorry, I don't understand.
Had called the schools to tell them what had happened. It took an hour and a half for the referee's nose to stop bleeding. An hour and a half. Bail was set at $20,000 based on the likelihood that the defendant may commit violence again. So, this guy in a middle school game. Okay, your kid intentionally fouls. That happens. When the ref went over, they're little kids. I'm sure his big ref knocked him over accidentally. He picked him up. I don't see a harm in that. He didn't push the kid down, I'm sure. But for dad to come down, barreling down, pushing a guy so hard he hits the ground and breaks his nose and cheek. Most of these refs are for middle school are volunteer, or if they get paid, it's very little. I know the reffing I did at this age. I coached the girls' team, so I reffed the boys' game and then coached for the girls' team. I don't know if that's what happened here, but really, you took it a little too far there, Dad. And relax. It's middle school basketball, for crying sakes. Coach Gino at UConn, our favorite basketball team that's not named the Gophers in college sports, has had issues with Muffet McGraw. She's the former coach at Notre Dame. They've had words. Muffet appeared to have touched a nerve. A few weeks ago, after she retired from Notre Dame, the head coach complained ESPN being supposedly biased towards Connecticut. Really? ESPN picking just a team that wins all the time to show all the time? Not really breaking news on that one. McGraw made her comment on the Off the Looking Glass podcast, which she says, absolutely, said McGraw, who retired in 2020 season and now works as an analyst for the ACC network, which is owned by ESPN. UConn has done great things, and they've won way more than anyone else except Tennessee. What they've done has been amazing. I think people measure their team by them. When we joined the Big East, we were like, we want to get to where they are. But I think it goes over the top with ESPN, that it's Connecticut's network. Notre Dame has NBC, Connecticut has ESPN. There's obviously complete bias there. Yeah, Muffet, you're not really saying something we haven't heard already. ESPN's known for wanting to play the champions all the time. We've said it during baseball season. It's the Yankees or the Red Sox or the Yankees against the Red Sox. Their scheduling, they always try to get the champion games on there for their Monday nights. That's part of business. You pay that kind of money for the games, you're going to get them. You want your women's game to grow, you have to show the champions that people know to get the ratings in to start with. But Gino was not going to be taking this lightly. Coach Gino, you got to love him. After some of the tweets that came out, he goes, what was one thing? He goes, Gino has twice said how Sesame Street taught him how numbers work, and he wasn't sure McGraw thought that. So he basically called it all going too bad. And I kind of agree. I'm not saying next I'm a UConn fan. I'm just saying that's ESPN's way. Don't blame him for ESPN playing him. He's not calling there and asking to be put on. We talked about a while ago how minor league baseball was underpaying everybody. players and stuff, and how they finally will start doing some things for teams here and there to help them get whatever rooms and that. But really, you're underpaying minor league players. Well, former Iowa Cubs owner was swinging for the fences with a gift for the team. Gardner, 83, was chairman and principal owner of the team for 22 years. When the team sale was finalized on December 28, he called together all the people who worked in the organization. So I'm taking that to be front office people, staff people, not players. Gardner then assembled the staff that envelopes he'd been handing them containing their new business cards. Instead, each staffer received a check for $2,000 for each year they worked for the minor league team. Some people built the year 2030 club, 20-30 years for that team. So this guy forked out all this cake, but couldn't afford to pay his players. That's no different in the pros as it is in the minors. Glad to see it works all the way down the line there. Ken Rosenthal, besides Dan and I and Tom Ball Tuesday, the most knowledgeable man in baseball, Ken Rosenthal has been fired by Major League Baseball Network due to his criticism of Rob Manfred. I like Ken Rosenthal, but I get why they had to do this. You go run your job the whole time and rip on the boss and the owner, they're going to fire you too. Yeah, Rosenthal's a reporter. That's part of his job. I mean, he still has his job at Fox. He's still at the Atlantic. You can still follow him on Twitter. It's still great, but he will be missed to MLB because I liked him on there. He kind of kept things cool, but just gives him more time to work on Fox now. The Australian Open, tennis. Yeah, we're talking tennis. And, of course, that because of the tennis. Djokovic, the guy who won it last year, he's been not a fan of the COVID stuff. He's no shots. He's filed legal protests. There's court cases going on right now for him to keep playing. The reason I'm saying this, and I'm not picking his side or against it, not that at all. It's when the old school guys get involved. Jimmy Connors, guy that I grew up with watching. I always thought he was the calm one between him and McEnroe. I've changed the spelling on a couple of these things from a tweet Jimmy Connors put up. Jimmy Connors said on his Twitter page, okay, we all have a choice between COVID and boosters. He had COVID. Don't F up the Australian Open without the quote-unquote best player. If he tests negative, should let him play. He's won 9 effing times. Come on, Australian Open. Be loyal to your event. So Jimmy Connors has got it all upset here. So that's kind of I can see McEnroe putting this one up, but not Connors. So say what you will, the Australian Open will be getting some media play right now. If you hear what's going on with them, this is why you see them on your local news feeds. All right, go back to what we do here best. High school sports. Boys hockey, their rankings from January 2nd through 9th from Minnesota Hockey TV. Andover and 2A. Andover's first. Roseau and Edina are your top 3. So moving around there too. If you look at last week, they were 3-5-2. Now they're 1-2-3. Lakeville South drops from 1 to 5. Boys A. Wow, it looks like top 5 are still the same. Hermantown, War Road, Little Falls, Montevideo, and Delano. Duluth Denfield jumps up from 9 to 6. Girls 2A. Tonka moves up to number 3, from number 3 to number 2. And then you kind of switch places there. The rest of it kind of stays the same, a little bumping around. Class A for the girls. War Road and Orono remain top 2. Hermantown moves up to from 6 to 3. Mound West Tonka drops. One thing, girls basketball, before we get into that here, I don't have it up. I did not put the stat on here. I apologize for that. I read it yesterday and I wanted to save it, and I did not save it in time. Let me check my notes here real quick if I still got it. Where is it? I'm not finding it offhand here. Nationally on ESPN for girls rankings, and we'll get to it as we go through here. Hopkins and Minnetonka are both in the top 25 nationally on ESPN charts. So, and Buffalo had to play both of them next week. So, sorry about that. Here's 4A girls. Hopkins, Tonka, Chaska are your top three, followed by Eden Prairie, Wayzata, and St. Michael, Albertville. 3A. These are all up January 5th for the girls. Austin, Becker, and Academy of Holy Angels are your top three. There's Vanilla at 6. Still, they're always up there in the middle of the pack. Now, De La Salle at 2 and 3 is 8th. Now, I didn't look at their schedule, who they've played, but they've got 5 games in. Some of these other schools have 10, 12 games in. So let's kind of give that the benefit of the doubt there. Class 2A, the academies are up first. Minnehaha and Providence, 1-2. Holy Family at 7th. New London Spicer debuting at 8. And in 1A, Mount Iron Bowl 1, Mayor Lutheran, our friends, Chris Gustin and team at number 2, Coach Gustin. Sleepy Eye St. Mary's 3. And Sleepy Eye 7. So big battle down there in town. Boys hoops. These are as of the 29th. Their new numbers, I think, come out tomorrow. So pardon me for teams that won and lost on here. But Park Center, Shakopee, Wayzata, and Tonka are your top 4. Hopkins at 7. 3A is Totino Grace, De La Salle, South St. Paul, and Alec. That's kind of a Totino Grace and De La Salle kind of steady up there all the time. 2A, North, Minneapolis North, Minnehaha Academy, Caledonia. Albany at 7. And then there is Sleepy Eye St. Mary's at 1 for the boys. New York Mills coming in at 8. As of the 23rd, for the website, the Guillotine, here is the boys wrestling. There is no team for girls. The girls are wrestling. They're all listed as individual. You can find them on the same website for the Guillotine to look those up. But here are the A, AA, and AAA. Top 3 for A, Belgrade. 2, Jackson County. 3, Kimball. AA, Simile, Casson, and Becker. Watertown Mayor at 10. And AAA, St. Michael, Albertville, Waconia, and Shakopee. Bemidji at 6. Watch that Waconia team. They got some studs.
I'm going to be doing a report on them next month in February. Going to a tournament and checking them out and providing the answers on a midweek episode. The Waconia wrestling team. Very good.
Yeah, had some big boys there.
Wow.
Gophers, we're going to touch just Gopher college here. Kind of gone long on some other topics after 2 weeks off for the holidays, kind of stuff we caught up on, but we'll hit the Gophers, get back to covering everybody next week. Men's hockey are 12-8 right now. Took 2 from Michigan State over the weekend. They got 2 against Alaska coming up. These are makeup games from earlier, the first 2 games of the year. And then see the Gophers are currently ranked 9th in the polls. With these 2 wins, they might be moving up a little bit. The Lady Gophers took care of business with St. Thomas. They're sitting 4th right now in the polls. And they got Minnesota State and a home coming up this weekend. Boys basketball took a couple on the chin, Illinois and Indiana this week. Then they go Michigan State, Iowa. They're in the also receiving votes category. But after these 2 losses, they probably won't receive any votes anymore. And the ladies are 8-8. They've had a tough loss today at Maryland, but Maryland's top 10 team. So they only lose by 15 there, or I'm sorry, 14. That's not bad. They did beat Rutgers earlier, but they're 8-8 on the year. We'll see. Let's hope they can make noise in the tournament. Team USA hockey. The pros aren't going for hockey, but they did announce some players. So here's for Team USA men's team. A few names to note on here. Ben Myers, forward from Minnesota. Currently undrafted. He's out from the Delano out here. Defense, Drew Hellison. That's family to me. That's the wife's cousin's boy. We've mentioned him before, Boston College. Not sure what jersey numbers are going to have, but listen for those names because you'll hear us talking them up a lot because That's what we do. We talk about family and friends on here too. So listen for those names. Oddly enough, I see they only took one goalie. That always scares me. When you only take one goalie. You're going to Beijing. This isn't a tournament across town, so maybe they'll pick up another goalie before they leave just in case. But that's the men's team. The women's team, which was announced at the hockey day on the first out at Target Field, the women have 23 players. 15 have prior Olympic experience. There are 15 there. You see some of them. A lot of Minnesota gals, a lot of Wisconsin gals. First-time Olympians. The team has 8 first-time Olympians, including Grace Zwenko from Excelsior, Minnesota, current Gopher. And you see the name on there, Savannah Harmon from Downers Grove, Illinois. I saw that name, Downers Grove, and who else do I know from Downers Grove? I had to look it up. That's the same hometown as Randy Macho Man Savage.
Nice.
So that's where I heard that one from.
Awesome.
The collegiates, all 23 athletes on Team USA for the girls, have either played, currently play, or are committed to play NCAA hockey. University of Minnesota leads the way with 8 reps. Wisconsin has 5, Boston College 3, Northeastern University 2, and 1 each from Boston, Clarkson, Linwood University, The Ohio State University, and the Bulldogs. Some concert stuff. Again, if you ever need tickets, you head down to Ridgemont Mall and you find Mike DeMone's concert tickets. February events at Medina Entertainment Center. The 5th, February 5th, Winger and George Lynch. The 12th, Firehouse and Sweet. Dan, are you ready for the next one?
Yes, please.
The Hams Beer Show, February 19th.
Oh, yes.
And as you can see there, you can get your picture with the Hams Bear like Dan and I did last year.
We've done that.
There we are. Was that 2 years ago or last year?
2 years, I believe.
2 years ago?
Yeah, and you know what?
So it's 2
I
years
don't
ago.
think they had it last year. Was it canceled?
Yes. Either that or we were canceled, one of the two. I can't remember. For some reason, we couldn't make it.
All right, I'm writing that down as we speak. Whether you like hams or not,
It's a good, if you're into collectibles, it's a lot of collectible stuff.
Memorabilia stuff is unbelievable. It's all old.
They had more than Hams there, but it is sponsored by Hams. So it's Hams Beer, Hams Bear, mostly Hams stuff. But you can find other beer things there.
I would recommend going to this.
It's a good time.
It's a hoot.
And the next day, I believe the 20th is also when the Daytona 500 is. So it's a big redneck weekend. Hams Beer and Daytona racing the next day. Doesn't get any better. Target Center concerts coming up. Volbeat and Ghost. They'll be on February 5th. Tickets are still available through Target Center. Also, Tool coming in concert March 13th at Center of Target. Xcel Energy Center, Bon Jovi, April 3rd. Tickets go on sale the 14th. Now, for these tickets between Target Center and Xcel, please, 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 before you buy tickets, and it's going to change week to week anyway, but check on what their recommendations are if you need to have shots or masks or whatever you need to get in. A note from your mom. I don't know. Check what their qualifications are for COVID stuff to get in first before you go buying tickets, because it's hard to get rid of them once you buy them, the way things are done right now. So please be careful when you do all that stuff. I don't want anyone buying tickets and getting hosed, and because Mike does not take returns for his concert tickets. So you can break out the mall. They're yours.
Down at the mall.
So if you're going to buy tickets for those shows, and they'd all be good shows, don't get me wrong. I wouldn't mind going to any of them myself, but I'm not going to go down there in a show and be in an arena with 10,000 people and have to wear a mask. That kind of takes away, for me, going to a concert. I'll show you shot proof and vaccination proof and a note from my 3rd grade teacher, whatever. But I'm not going to wear a mask to a concert because that's wrong, in my opinion.
Correct.
That's another show for another day. We don't cover that stuff here. But that's what I got, sir. What do you have for a trivia answer?
Trivia answer. The trivia question at the top of the show was, tomorrow night is the Alabama versus Georgia Bulldog National Collegiate Football Division I title game. Alabama has 13 titles to their resume, I should say. Georgia has only one title, 1980. The question is, how many titles do the Minnesota Golden Gophers have? The answer is 4.
I know back in the day, like the 60s, they were a powerhouse.
4 titles. You know, that puts them, Andy, tied for 8th in all-time college football history for most titles. They have 4. Granted, they won back in 36, 1940, 41, 1960. But that's a lot of titles. You don't hear that. And I think today's generation, including us even, I wouldn't have guessed that at all.
Yeah, I just know stories from the olden days. Leo Nomalini and some of the guys. A lot of trips to the Rose Bowl. Used to be Big Ten, Pac-10 champs. A lot of Big Ten titles I know they got for football.
They were a powerhouse back then. They're not really now, but boy, it goes to show that back in the day they were put up some big numbers. That's 4 titles is tough to do.
One note I want to bring up that I forgot to bring up earlier. Talk about the Bison going together up to the big time, to the FBS. The Bison's offensive line was nicknamed the Rams. Here's the numbers for their 5 starters for the Rams on the offensive line.
Okay.
6'4", 328 pounds. 6'5", 298. 6'6", 281. 6'7", 313. 6'6", 301. The Gophers starting 5. 6'6", 3 1/4. 6'5", 310. 6'4", 320. 6'6", 325. 6'9", 380. Alabama's 6'7", 350. 6'4", 305. 6'3", 305. 6'3", 300. 6'3", 324. That's the difference between Division II and Division I. The horses are bigger at Division I, at the FBS. A little bit bigger. So that's the O-line. I mean, their team was called the Rams for their offensive line. That was their numbers. They had 2 guys under 300 pounds. Gophers didn't have another guy under 310. Alabama didn't have anyone under 305. So the horses are a little bigger, but you know what? If you're playing Division I and you're defending champs, you're going to get the bigger people, the better people. That's what I said before. It'd be tough for them. They're going to make that jump. Be honest to your recruits. Hey, in a couple 3 years, we're going to Division I. It might not be pretty. You know, I don't know how that'd scare off your recruits. I don't know about you, but me as a player, if I was a player, would you rather ride the bench at Division I football at Notre Dame or at Alabama, ride the bench, or do you want to start at North Dakota State and win that championship as a starting player, or do you want to win it riding the bench?
Well, I think we'll find out.
There's Bison starters. It's like they'd probably be a bench player, maybe not on Alabama or Notre Dame, but they'd probably be a bench player like on the Gophers or Wisconsin or Illinois. I'd rather start if I knew I wasn't going pro. That's me.
That's a big impact for recruiting, and I think we're finding that we're going to find that out here in the next couple of years with St. Thomas being so good in sports for so long, now moving up to D1, and it's going to take a toll because they're not going to be that good. They aren't that good in a lot of sports that have already started. And now, do you want to go to school there, ride the bench, or be a starter and get pounded every game and lose, or play down where you were before and be very good perennial favorites and come home with rings every year and trophies? It's a good question. It's a fair question, too.
And a lot of it says stuff to the school for the academics, too. I don't care if I get pounded. They got a great science degree I want to go for, a great whatever degree I'm going for. That has a lot to do with it, too, but let's be honest. A lot of these athletes are playing to play because they want to move on. I could move on. I could be that Carson Wentz. I could be that Trey Lance being a starter at the Bison. Would they have been a starter somewhere else and been where they are today if they were on the bench somewhere else? If you believe in yourself, you play to start and see what happens.
It's a good question, and it's a valid one. Now, in the NFL, Mr. Carson Wentz today, the Colts lost to the Jaguars and got eliminated today.
Now, have you been following the Jags this week, though, what was going on?
No.
The media and the fans, there was going to be what they're going to call a clown out down in Jacksonville. They're going to all start dressing as clowns pretty soon. They're not happy with what the Khan family's doing down there. Spend some money. Let's get some players down here. I think Trevor Lawrence finally got his. First of all, their coaching was a disaster the first half of the year for Jacksonville. Yep. Let's be honest. I think if they get a decent coach in, then go somewhere. I don't want to stir the pot. I'm going to throw this against the fans, see if it sticks. As much as he says he loves staying in college where he is, you write a check big enough, Jim Harbaugh will come down to Jacksonville and be your coach.
Correct.
And I would like to see Jim Harbaugh down there because Trevor Lawrence is still young. He works great with the young quarterbacks. He did in San Francisco when they were young, when he had Kaepernick when he was young. He worked with him. The young quarterbacks in Michigan he's worked with. I think Harbaugh would be awesome down there. Maybe I can't think of our name, but Harbaugh is the first one I think of right now. Michigan was not ranked in the top 25 going into the season, and they make the Final Four for basketball or for football. So with that being said, he just padded his resume huge.
Yes.
If he goes pro, Khan's got the checkbook, write it, get Harbaugh down there.
Well, it'll be interesting. So the Colts are out. San Francisco 49ers won in overtime. They're in. And it'll be good. This next weekend is wild card weekend. That'll be fun. Now, to the NFL, the Vikings won today, but didn't make the playoffs. They're out. They're eliminated. They will get the number 14 draft pick overall in April's NFL draft. 14th pick. Middle of the road, whatever. Big news in the NFL this week. Off the field was Antonio Brown, Andy. He's done it before. He's always on the news for wild, crazy behavior. He said he's gotten treatment.
Most of his time with Pittsburgh, he wasn't. Most of the time in Pittsburgh, he wasn't because Tomlin kept him under his thumb. Last couple of years, he got bad, but yeah.
So now he's been in trouble with multiple issues. Goes to Tampa Bay. Basically, they said it's a zero-tolerance situation. We'll bring you here. Tom Brady brought him there. They won a Super Bowl last year. Well, now Brown's having a pretty good year, but has off and on injured. This last Sunday, re-aggravated something with his ankle or leg. They asked him to go in. He said, no, I don't want to go in. I can't play. I can't play on the field with my current condition. The coach says, you're cut. You're out. Please leave the stadium right now. So, of course, Antonio Brown follows directions, but in his own way, he throws off his equipment,
has no hissy fit.
Does jumping jacks, takes everything off. He's naked on top, right?
Yep.
Got his pants on, and he runs off. Just flamboyant, wild. The crowd's loving it. They cheer, whatever. We find out later that Bruce Arians, the coach, basically cut him right there. He didn't want to go in, didn't want to play. He says, you've got to go in. You're cut. Knee-jerk reaction, goes off the handle, leaves. So the question is Antonio Brown a nutcase mental job? I don't know. A lot of people think that he is. But does the head coach, he doesn't have the power to make cuts during the game, does he not? That's a general manager or an owner move. Can Bruce Arians cut someone on the field during a game? He doesn't have that authority, I don't believe.
First of all, I don't think he does either, but for Antonio Brown to believe him thinking he does and reacting that way, that's on Antonio Brown.
So
he could have flipped Arians the bird and said, no, my ankle hurts. I'm going to go sit in the portable fish house over here or the injury tent and have them tell me it's hurt. Or just do what most prima donnas do. Go out there on play, take 2 steps, and just fall to the ground and hold your ankle and get cut it off.
So we saw him dancing in the end zone. He didn't look like he had an ankle injury at all to me. He was dancing around, doing jumping jacks, waving the crowd. Didn't look to me like he was injured. Now, maybe he wasn't qualified enough as injury to play in the NFL football game, but Antonio Brown, as a talented player as he is, 80% is still better than most players. So he's got to be just fine. I don't know what the story was. I don't know what the scoop was, but does Arians have a right or have a chance? Can he even do it? So the very next day, folks were looking the waiver wire. Is he listed? Is he listed? Nope. He's still on the roster, still on the roster. So it took until I think Thursday or even Friday of this week. And then he cleared the waivers and was on the waiver wire as officially cut. So I think Arians had to work with the team and the GM and the owner to say, what are we going to do? And actually get the buy-in and the agreement to actually cut him. So that got to be a very awkward deal. He did appear. Antonio Brown was on the Bob Maneri show this week. He's a pretty good listen if you get a chance to listen to Bob Maneri. He's the comedy guy, the sports guy who does some good stuff. Antonio Brown was in good spirits.
Well,
then he went to a basketball game.
Yeah, Monday night he was at the Nets game, courtside.
At the Nets game and sitting courtside. I saw your post. Who does that?
You got to be crazy to be sitting courtside there.
So we don't know what's going to happen with Antonio. Overall career, his numbers, he's in the top 20 in almost every category for receiving in the history of NFL.
Okay, let me ask you this right there.
Which is good.
He's a free agent. He wants to try to prove he's a good guy. Does he play in the USFL this summer?
See, that's a good question. He would be the perfect candidate to play in the XFL, USFL, Canadian Football League. The National Football League teams are going to be hesitant to bring him on at all, even though he says he's clean, he's cleaned up, he's not a head case. I think that he could. I mean, I don't know. I think think of the money that he'd bring into the fantasy teams, the viewers, and people want to watching.
If you're a USFL team, would you sign him just to get put butts in seats and eyes on your team?
The USFL owners have that mindset, yes. Yep. So they would not think twice about that. XFL, same thing.
Yep.
That's going to put people in the seats, and so maybe that's the deal. But who knows what took place there, what happened? But Antonio Brown, he was on the cover of Madden on one cover episode of the
yes.
video.
Yep.
Very talented guy. Yes, he's got issues. Yes, who knows what's going on? He doesn't.
He has
certainly
issues.
Beats a drum to a different drummer, right? He certainly does that. But
his issues in Pittsburgh were a couple times after the game, he had his cell phone out recording post-game meetings and locker stuff. That's what he was doing. He was putting on his Instagram and Twitter. And it's like, dude, really? So that's where
Antonio Brown's a different cat. But what he is polarizing. People like the guy, hate the guy. There's not a lot of middle ground with Mr. AB, but we'll see where he ends up here with going on. The tournament, like I said, the NFL playoffs begin here Saturday, Sunday. I think they're going with a Monday here for the first time.
And Monday. They have a Monday game for wild cards. So 6 wild card games, yeah.
That's all I've got, I believe, for sports. UConn basketball. I forgot to mention this with Gino earlier. The UConn women's basketball team has been ranked in the top 10. Every week, they do the rankings every week. Yep. Going back to 2005. They have been in the top 10. So we know ESPN is based in Bristol, Connecticut. Yes, ESPN loves UConn. If ESPN was based here in Minnesota for hockey, all we'd be hearing about is Golden Gopher hockey. Yep. And it's good. So they'd have the same kind of a thing. They love UConn. That's a fact. But UConn's good, top 10. Preseason rankings, end of the season rankings. Every week during the rankings from 2005 until a couple of weeks ago, they dropped to 11. I think right now they're 11th or 12th in the nation.
Yeah, right for the holidays.
Which is still good.
Yeah.
But not the first time they dropped out was this year, going back to 2005. Now that is what I call, there's your dynasty right there.
Yep.
That's all I've got for sports, my friend.
I just want to trickle back to Mike Tomlin there. 15 years as head coach, every year been 500 or better. Roethlisberger, apparently his last year, gets his team in the playoffs one more ride. You say Tomlin, hey, he's coaching the 500 or better. Ben's been there all the time when it was not cutting injuries for a few years. That just pumps up. Ben's just quietly going to go into the Hall of Fame first ballot, I think. You look at his numbers, what he's done. 2 Super Bowls, this and that. Winning record. You forget about that. We can talk about Tomlin's record. Okay, Big Ben got you those numbers too, for a majority of them. 95% of those wins are him. And look, all the players he's put through there. Okay, oh yeah, Hines Ward was Hall of Fame, but he was kind of there for Tomlin. But besides Ben, name another real superstar that's been there. It's been a pure team effort with Tomlin. You don't see that with teams a lot anymore.
Agree with that.
So,
and the
former Viking defensive coach Mike Tomlin, I should say.
Yes, very good. I like him. Tomlin's always been a good guy.
Yep.
The Steelers tonight are sitting back watching this Sunday night game, and following whoever wins or loses, the Steelers will back into that last spot as a wild card. But there's only one exception. If the game ends in a tie, they don't make the playoffs at all.
Yeah, so if you kill them, yep.
It'll be an interesting situation. I'm going to go into my album review, but if you want to take tabs on that game, I'd like to see the score on that, Andy.
I'll put Kevin from my intern up on looking that up.
All right, we'll move into a little album review. The album review this week is
Christmas present.
No, I got it. I got this album a couple weeks ago. It just came out this year. It came out October 29th. It's Jerry Cantrell's solo album Brighton that came out. I'll be reviewing this here today. His album Brighton. Jerry Cantrell, longtime Alice in Chains guitarist and vocalist. This is his third studio album. And I'm going to read a couple reviews here that I've heard about this. It's very interesting. It's so new, there's not a Wikipedia page. There's not a lot of stats on this new album, but I've been listening to this a lot. It's the first solo album that he's done in nearly 20 years. But this album marks a stylistic departure, defying listener expectations while also featuring a range of notable musicians. So once again, solo album, he's got to bring in his own guys to do this album. He brings in Guns N' Roses bassist Duff McKagan, another former Seattle guy, producer and guitarist Tyler Bates, Dillinger Escape Plan singer Greg Puciato, and longtime Paul McCartney drummer Abe Laboriel Jr. Appears on this album. So they bring in some good artists here. Opening with the initial single released earlier this year, Brighton kicks off on one of the strongest notes. Layered acoustic and electric guitars are accented with the twang of a slide guitar weaving its way through the song, while Cantrell's signature distorted wah pedal muddies the waters with a sludgy appearance in the chorus. Sludgy, once again, this has got some grunge to it. Far from an odyssey, the song Atone is a beautiful, haunted sonic wasteland of dystopic proportions for Cantrell's songwriting and emotional reflections to sprawl about a sophisticated and dense manner, with a dark energy to it, giving the song a sense of emotional weight and Cantrell's stirring vocals. Atone is a masterpiece of songwriting. Now, that's a good quote right there, a good paragraph. This song is not what we... I like to look at some of these solo artists, solo works, some Ace Frehley. I think of some of the Stanley work, Gene Simmons work that they've done on solo records. Kiss, a notch below average. They're fun to listen to. Got some good songs, a bunch of throwaway songs. This is completely different. Jerry Cantrell's here. This is some masterpiece work here on some of these songs. There's already 3 music videos out there for these. If you do a search on them, you can get them. Here's a song listing of song 1, Atone. Deals with, once again, this Seattle grunge. These guys refuse to go to therapy classes and do all their inner thinking, getting them out on paper on lyrics. Very heavy personal stuff. Jerry Cantrell's dealt with a lot of stuff. This song's talking about how can he possibly try to atone for the sins of the past. This song is called Atone. Song 2 is Brighton, trying to get to that next less dark phase of his life to brighten it. Song 3 is Living in a Prism of Doubt. It's called Prism of Doubt. Once again, very dark lyrics here. Song 4 is Black Hearts and Evil Done. Talks about, once again, things he's done in the past. It's a former addict, come clean, still dealing with things. And Siren Song is song 5. Relates to an old Female Flame. Song 6, Had to Know. It's a song about heroin addiction and getting into it. And then the lyrics talk about had to know. And I think this is Lane Staley. For a beginning addict always has to know what's in the ingredients, what's in this. What am I going to get out of it? You have to know, you had to know. And I think this was directly related to Lane Staley back in the day of first learning and introducing guys how to shooting up heroin is what I think the song's about. You had to know all the details of what I need, what's the ingredients, what's my high, how long do I take before I come down? You need to know all the details. Well, at the end of the lyrics, he talks about you also had to know the repercussions of this. Don't come back acting surprised when you're addicted. When you're going into this, you have to know. That's a very good song. Song 7, Nobody Breaks You. Song 8 is Dismembered. Now, it's not a gruesome, we're talking about his lyrics on that song Dismembered is his head really attached. He doesn't seem to be making sense. Nothing makes sense. People constantly asking him, is his head screwed on straight? He wonders, is he dismembered? Kind of a comedy. And then he closes off with a short song, only 1 minute long, called Goodbye. But as a whole, Brighton is surprisingly and largely free of any riffs. There's no solos. There's no guitar solos on this song. It's perhaps the strongest statement of the stylistic and creative departure that Cantrell has embarked on with the writing of this album. Rather than riffs and solos, the songwriting standards strong at the forefront of the album. Songs like the title track, I Had to Know, Siren Song, Stand Alone, as a reminder to Cantrell's grunge roots. The latter of which feels reminiscent to Alice in Chains' album Down in a Hole. While much of Brighton connects more with a singer-songwriter vibe, the subtleties of just Cantrell and an acoustic guitar on the song called Black Hearts and Evil Done is something to behold. While the song Nobody Breaks You and Dismembered bring an alternative flair to country. He's got some country songs on this, Andy.
That's what I heard, yeah.
A country flair. It's done pretty good. And he ends with the song, The Somber Goodbye, brings Brighton album to a thoughtful and quiet close. This review says Cantrell shines on his latest solo outing, a record that, while not his debut, feels like a new chapter in his esteemed career. Cantrell sounds revitalized through the creative experiment that Brighton has allotted him, and that is perhaps the greatest departure from the worlds of grunge, hard rock, and metal. Trading in riffs for lush melodies and harmonic progressions, Brighton is a reflective album with simple yet brilliant songwriting at its core. This is a very personal album, I think. It's a therapy that I think Cantrell has done. His vocals are unbelievable, how he's transgressed over the years to be a great vocalist. But I like this. He's going to be touring March, April, and May this year in the U.S. His first tour kicks off St. Paul, March 24th. And he also, with our Alice in Chains, have a connection to Minneapolis. So he picked his opening day as St. Paul, Minnesota at the, not the Fitzgerald Theater, but what it's called. They're opening March 24th. He's kicking off his tour. This would be a good situation to see. So I've been having this in heavy rotation in my CD player, but I would encourage you to get the Cantrell stuff. Once again, clean, sober guy, but all the stuff that he's been dealing with over the decades comes out in his songs. I don't believe these guys receive any therapy at all. They're all psychological therapy sessions. These songs, it's unreal. They deal with some deep personal stuff, but that's the way Cantrell gets it out. And I recommend it anyway.
All right. One of the cool things I want to bring up, one thing over the holiday break, one of my page 2 episodes I kind of want to get your opinion on this. You know, in college basketball, they always have their preseason tournaments. So you got good matchups, Michigan State against Kentucky and stuff like that. And what if college football did that? Hello bowl games at the beginning of the year? Because no one plays them. No one watches them. No one watches the make the right whatever bowl game the Gophers were in. Because you're doing other things on Saturdays at that time of year. You're Christmas shopping. You got company parties to go to, this, that, the other thing. So move the bowl games to the beginning of the year. Get people's interest in it right off the bat.
That's not a
Base it
bad.
off last year's record. So base it off who you would have played. Still having your neutral sites like you're doing now. But just do it to start the year. Instead of the end of the year and they're like, oh, I'm not going to play. I'm going for the draft. I'm kind of hurt, really don't want to play. These companies are showing out money for this stuff. Keep the championship bowl games at the end. Maybe you can expand your playoffs now at the end because you moved all these bowl games to the front end of your season.
You're saying move a handful or maybe a dozen up?
I'd say move a majority of them to the
Majority,
front.
okay.
Yes, everything before Christmas. Maybe some of those around Christmas move up.
You know, there's college
conference championships down there, matchups down there, Rose Bowl down there, keep them there.
college football is known for putting those first couple of handful of games for each team. It's pretty soft schedule for each of them. It doesn't rouse up much interest. And that would be a way to get things kind of kicked into high gear.
Yep.
I like it.
Raiders are up 17-14 at half.
Okay. Remember, a team has to win for the Steelers to advance. If there's a tie, the Steelers' season is done.
And that would be kind of ironic because Roethlisberger a few years ago, there was a game ended in a tie. He didn't know what the overtime rules were. He didn't think they still had ties in football. And he's been like in 3 in the last 5 years or whatever. And to have a tie be ending his career, I think would be kind of funny.
Yeah, it is. It's goofy, but the playoffs will be starting. We'll do some previews next week on the NFL wildcard weekend. That's always fun. It's always
fun. The games there'll be a couple games in before we do our show. So watch our Facebook page and Twitter. You'll see our picks probably come out Thursday sometime.
Yeah, Thursday sounds about right. All right, sounds good. Anything more from you, Andy?
No, that's it. Like, share, subscribe on all of our social media formats. Dan's got his show roughly on Wednesdays on YouTube. I got stuff on Instagram and midweek, and sometimes we put that on our Spotify page too for special videos there. So check that out.
That's all I've got. Have a good week, everybody.
See ya.
See ya.